What is up, Fabrication Nation? So basically on this channel, there's two things I really strive for. The first one is to be entertaining. I try to make these videos as entertaining as possible. You know, if you've been around for a while, you know that I do less informational and more entertaining. And that's basically because people will come back if they're entertained. If they're just looking for information, once they have that information, they'll kind of move on. And that's not what I want. I want to build a community around this channel. And the other thing is I want to inspire other fabricators like myself that aren't necessarily, you know, top of the heap, but got some skills, want to make some stuff, want to be creative, but they're doing it in a shop, you know, the size of mine, smaller sometimes bigger. And so I want to inspire you guys that are in the same situation that I'm in to take on these big projects, right? You don't need a huge fancy shop and all this big power equipment and all this stuff. It's nice, but you don't have to have it. Like, you can take on these projects and make something very neat and special without having all that stuff. But I do like to bring you guys the best possible tools that I can in order to accomplish those goals. I have worked with this company. I've been working with this company over the past maybe 2-3 months trying to get this to you guys. This video was supposed to be happening in the new shop. I wasn't really planning on making this video in this shop, but as you know, that fell through, and so you gotta do what you gotta do. So what I've done is made a little room so we can set this new fab table up from weldtables.com, the company who makes them, tab and slot. They make a phenomenal product. You're about to see what I'm talking about. So let's get on this. Let's do this. So I just moved some stuff out of the way, moved the bender over. Got my shrinker stretcher right here for right now. And then just kind of move the brake around just to make space. I think I'm gonna put the table here, and we'll kind of see what it looks like, and then maybe kind of move some stuff around. I tell you what I would really love to do is at some point maybe attach this bender to the table itself. And so it doesn't have its own stand. I can store a lot of the hydraulic stuff and a lot of the bending dies under the table itself. So maybe that's what we'll do. Here's one of the boxes here with a lot of the stuff in it. As you can see, super nice laser precision cut. Everything is perfect. Even the tubes that are for the legs, the ends are precision notched, so everything fits together perfect. So these have these little tabs in there. You'll see how that works here in a little bit. And then here's the top itself. Same laser precision. This is a 1/4 inch plate. And these edges are legit. Even the holes. So you have a bunch of holes, and then it's also tapped. Holes are tapped 2 inches on center around the entire plate. I think it's 16 millimeter. They have options. You can get 16 millimeter or 1/2 inch. I believe these are 16 millimeter. We'll find out in just a minute. And then the ribs that actually straighten it. These ribs, the way that they make these, and you'll see in a minute, this is what allows it to be perfectly flat, the way that these go together. So anyway, let's drag it over there and see if we can't get to work. Alright, so this is the top plate here. This is the main fixture base, I guess. This is the 36 by 48. They make all kinds of different sizes of these tables, and these tables are awesome too because you can actually put multiples together if you need to at some point, if you want to make a big chassis table or something like that out of it. Like I said, this thing, the entire thing is precision laser cut. You can tell by just looking at these cuts that they're just awesome. The holes are just perfect. All the little notches are perfect. I mean, this top plate is 1/4 inch, but you can also, you have the option of, like, I think 3/8 and maybe 1/2 inch. I don't see why you'd really need any thicker than this, especially for something like what I'm doing, but I guess there are those times where you might need something that's a little thicker. There's one of the ribs that goes, across the bottom of this thing. This is basically what allows this table to be perfectly flat. That's why they can claim that it's a CertFlat table, because the way that this thing goes together, even if that thing is not perfectly flat, it's gonna pull it all true before we weld it up. And as you can see, all the cuts on this thing are precision laser cut as well. You can see all these little tabs and quarter-inch. So we got, and these are the ones in the center. So the way that this table works is on the outside of it, it's gonna have a plate that's similar to this with the holes in it, so you can actually mount stuff on the side as well. And so those outer pieces will look more like the top versus these pieces, which are the inner section. And then these go on the bottom. This is what the legs attach to. Tell you what, let's just start putting this thing together. I'll quit talking, and if I need to say something along the way, I'll do that. Alright, so everything's going together really well. Basically, let me kind of explain to you what I'm doing. So I put all the sections in. You have all your short sections, and then your long sections go over top of those. And what I'm doing is I'm taking some U-bolts. So I got like 3-inch U-bolts. This thing's puffy. Got some 3-inch U-bolts, and then what I'm doing is I'm just crossing them over these cross braces in order to draw the actual table itself up to these cross braces. The way this thing is designed is that these cuts are perfectly level, and so as long as you draw the table up to these cross braces before you weld it together, then the table itself will be perfectly level. Anyway, long story short, pull the table up to the cross braces. You want to make sure there's no air gap in there. You know, you can shine some light through it or whatever you want to kind of make sure that it is drawn up. Make sure that everything, all the surfaces are clean, so there's no grit in there. And then you have your end pieces, which I'm going to tie together with some threaded rod. The last thing I'll do is I'll put the plates on each corner for the legs. And I'll actually bolt all that stuff together. And then once it's all together, I know that it's all nice and tight and fit just like I want it. Then I'll start going through and tack welding it up and kind of lock it into place, if you will. Alright guys, so got everything tigged up on the table part. It's not that bad. I mean, it's time consuming, at least it was for me, because I tigged everything. You don't have to tig everything, you can MIG it, be a lot quicker. It probably took me 3 times as long as it normally would. But I wanted it to be nice and clean, and something like this. This to me is a tool that I want to use in the shop for probably the rest of my life. I want to make sure that it's at least to the standard that I like to see. So anyway, really, when you're assembling this thing, you can't go wrong. So I had posted some of pictures of this thing on Instagram. Had some people ask some questions about, you know, are you afraid it's going to warp? Are you afraid you're going to distort it? That sort of thing. You can't really go wrong as long as everything is touching. So if the cross braces are touching the table, you got everything clamped down like it's supposed to be, you can't really go wrong. Like, it's going to be right. Just make sure that everything's clamped. However you want to do that, whether it's with the U-bolts like I did, so you can kind of see what I was talking about when I was talking about the U-bolts themselves. So I just kind of looped them through here and then just got go through one hole on each side. On some of this stuff I used like a regular bolt with a nut, and I just ran it through the entire piece just like that, tightened it down. You can do that, or like I said, you can go with the U-bolts, U-bolt everything. You can go with like a standard clamp if you've got big enough clamps. You can just clamp it all together. And then as far as the lengthwise, I just used threaded rod. So I just bought some sections of like 5-foot threaded rod, ran it through the center of this thing, tightened everything down, and just started tacking away. Very simple. Like I said, if you have everything, all the surfaces mated together, it's gonna be right. And I think that the CertFlat guys, or Tab and Slot, or weldtables.com, basically it's all the same company. I think they basically say that if everything's built like it's supposed to be, they will guarantee that it's within 15 thousandths of being flat, plus or minus 15 thousandths. So that's pretty legit. And I didn't see any issues with quality. Everything fit together perfectly. Like, there was no issues. You didn't have to like bang or bend or squeeze anything. Like, it was everything fit perfect. Now what I'm gonna do is gonna put the legs together. Kind of debated on how I'm gonna get this thing turned upright, because obviously I'm building it upside down, and it's heavy. I don't know, I'm guessing maybe 200 or 300 pounds right now. I know that the pallet that they shipped me was 600 pounds. But I also got some other things too besides just this table. I got like a plasma section that I'll do on the channel, and I got some fab blocks and stuff like that. So I think the top maybe be 200-300 pounds right now. It's heavy. I mean, I couldn't do it by myself. So what I did was I bought an eye bolt. I'm gonna run it through one of these 1/2-inch holes, tighten it down real good, and then probably get the engine hoist over here and kind of lift this thing up and turn it over. But before I do that, gonna do the legs. The legs shouldn't be near as difficult as, or near as time consuming as the top has been. Just zip those things up. Got some casters that are gonna go on there, and then I'll flip this thing over and we'll take a look. Alright guys, there you go. The CertFlat welding table by weldtables.com, or Tab and Slot is actually the parent company, I believe. So it's pretty much done. I think I'll go back and probably TIG all these tabs up from the top side just to kind of strengthen it just a little bit more. You know, the real advantage to having something like this, you know, a lot of you guys are probably gonna be like, well, why not just go get a piece of plate steel? I mean, that's gonna do what I need it to do. It's gonna be strong, it's probably not gonna move. And it by itself may be pretty flat. May not move a whole lot, but the problem is when you start putting fixture clamps and that sort of thing on that steel, then it's gonna start pulling it and doing all kinds of funky stuff. You get it hot, if you're welding on it or whatever, it's gonna start to move around and it's not gonna be flat anymore. This type of table is not gonna do that. It's not gonna move. The other thing is, for what one of these kits would cost you, you can't really just buy the steel by itself for that price. You know, these kits are very, very well priced. I'm sure they buy in huge quantities, and that's how they get the steel at a great price. And then you gotta look, man, it is drilled and tapped and got a bunch of 1/2-inch holes, and I mean, all this stuff is already done for you. You ain't gotta worry about none of that stuff. So anyway, part one of this project. I actually have another one of these, another table similar to this they also make, that is for plasma cutting. It's a plasma table. Gonna build that. It's got its own wheels and everything, but you can join the two. And then I have a bunch of fixture mounts. These go something like this. Weld that up, and then now you have a 90-degree base to attach things to on the side, or mount parts to, or whatever. The other nice thing about this is they can actually mount on the side if you need them to. So got a couple of these, gonna put those together. I'm gonna do all that in a different video. There you go, stepping the game up. This thing's gonna be super nice to make some parts for the Bibster. I also want to make some A-arms for the Black Pearl. And some other suspension components. I know, like when I do a Watts link and that sort of thing for this, the cantilever suspension, this table will come in extremely handy for that. So there you go. Hope you enjoyed that. As always, thank you for joining me. I'll see you guys next week. Go do work, son.